The evening settles over a quiet storybook village of warm stone and ivy. Inside a tiny cottage at the lane's edge, Belle sits cross-legged on the windowsill, a novel cradled like a heartbeat in her hands. Each page turns with the hush of a lullaby. When she pauses to breathe, distant bells drift through the shutters, mixing with the scent of fresh bread and lavender. In these hours, the world outside her stories feels gentle, almost hushed, just enough to invite a dreamer deeper into wonder. Belle's father, Maurice, hums at his workbench nearby, coaxing tiny gears to dance in the lantern light. He glances at Belle and smiles. She answers without words, a daughter's soft promise that hearts may speak in silence. When the clock strikes, Maurice lifts a travel cloak lined with patches and turns to Belle. He is off to present his newest invention at the fair. Belle stands, folds a bookmark into the whispering pages, and fastens the cloak's last button under his chin. Their goodbye is tender. One kiss on her forehead, one quiet laugh between them, and the creak of the door welcoming the night. Maurice's path winds beyond the village, twisting into shadowed forest. Moonbeams spill like silver paint across the overgrown road, and owls lift gentle questions into the dark. When chilled mist curls around the horse's reins, Maurice follows a half-remembered shortcut, one tale older villagers swear never to take. The woods grow thick, sighing with secrets. Then the wind parts the branches, revealing iron gates draped in roses that glow dull crimson beneath frost. With each hesitant hoofbeat, the gates yawn open. Somewhere beyond, a castle breathes with candlelight. Inside the village cottage, Belle dreams at the windowsill. Hours pass. Dawn threatens but never fully arrives. Restless worry tugs at her ribcage. She pushes away her open book, saddles Philippe, and rides into the pale hush of morning. Trees loom like tall, sleeping giants until the same wrought iron gates appear. They open at her touch. No groan, no resistance, as though expecting her. Philippe's hooves echo over a courtyard dusted with forgotten petals. Turrets rise overhead, windows glowing amber, yet not a voice stirs. The castle feels paused between breaths. Belle steps across the threshold, and the chandeliers flutter awake, crystal prisms painting gold ribbons across the marble. A candelabrum with mischievous eyes bows flamboyantly. "Bienvenue, mademoiselle," whispers Lumiere, his flames flickering in greeting. "Cogsworth." The mantel clock clears his throat with dignified concern, yet his ticking softens at Belle's worried gaze. Mrs. Potts drifts in, steam curling like comfort through the hall, while young Chip pops a bubbly giggle that bounces from pillar to pillar. In this enchanted hush, Belle discovers wonder more vivid than any chapter she has ever turned. Deeper in the castle, behind a cracked door, sits a beast with fur like twilight storms and eyes unsure of their own gentleness. He hears voices but hesitates, paw hovering over the latch. Belle, guided by the warm glow of talking teacups, finally meets him in a corridor lined with dusty tapestries. Her heart thuds once, thunder and hush, then steadies beneath his wary stare. She speaks first, voice soft as snowfall on roses. The beast lowers his gaze, grip easing from the velvet drape he clutches. No roar answers her greeting, only a quiet nod. In the days that follow, morning drifts into afternoon as Belle explores sunlit hallways lined with forgotten tomes. The beast watches from doorways, interested yet distant. Belle invites him to share a sentence, then a paragraph, then an entire chapter read aloud by fireside. At first, his replies are simple nods, claws tracing the page margins like timid question marks. Slowly, curiosity outweighs fear, and he ventures to pronounce a heroic knight's name, stumbling yet brave. Belle applauds softly, and the chandeliers above chime like crystal applause in miniature. One gray afternoon, Belle's gasp circles the library balcony, shelves spiraling into eternity, ladders perched like stairways to clouds. Dust motes float in sunbeams, dancing between volumes bound in jeweled leather. The beast offers this library as a gift, voice trembling under the weight of the gesture. Belle's thanks break over him like dawn, coloring his hidden smile with hope. Together they pull favorite titles from high shelves, stories of distant seas, of brave maidens and kind monsters, of roses that never wilt. Reading becomes their shared language, each sentence stitching a fragile friendship thicker. Nights arrive with gentle certainty. In the grand dining hall, Lumiere conjures candles that hover like sleepy fireflies. Mrs. Potts pours vanilla-scented tea, steam curling into heart-shaped sighs. Belle tells tales of her village, of sheep that leap fences even when awake, of booksellers who save the last copy for eager dreamers. The beast listens, chin resting on one great paw, eyes softening like velvet. He shares, in careful fragments, memories of laughter, once echoing through these corridors when the world was bright and human. Belle's smile assures him those echoes may yet return. The castle prepares a surprise, a grand ballroom dressed in moonlit silk. Floors polished to mirror perfection reflect starlight pouring through arched windows. Belle descends the marble staircase in a gown the color of candle flame at dawn, soft gold that glides with every breath. The beast, clad in deep blue, waits beneath a chandelier alive with tiny galaxies of light. Music begins. Strings whisper first, then swell like tides under a calm moon. Belle rests her hand against velvet fur. The beast's claws fold back, gentle, careful not to break the moment. They waltz in slow circles, each turn dissolving hours and fears alike. Around them, the castle holds its breath. Lumiere dims his flames to a tender glow, ensuring every shadow is soothing, every reflection kind. When the melody drifts into a sleepy sigh, Belle leans closer, forehead brushing the beast's shoulder, a gesture of trust. In that spark, an enchantment unknots a single thread, unseen yet felt like a heartbeat shared. The dance ends not with applause, but with a comfortable silence, warm enough to carry them past midnight. Beyond the ballroom, in a hidden west wing, a glass dome guards a single crimson rose. Its petals glow faintly, as if lit from within by sunrise memories. Belle follows the beast to this quiet sanctum. He tells her, voice scarcely above a whisper, that each falling petal marks time slipping away. Belle reaches, not to touch the rose, but to place her hand over his. No spell is spoken, no grand promise uttered, only presence. Two hearts listening to the hush between petals. A soft breeze brushes the curtains. One petal loosens, drifting through candlelight like a slow exhale. It lands among its sisters with the lightest murmur. Belle watches, then smiles, an understanding deeper than words. Beauty lives within the patience of hope. The beast's shoulders lower, tension melting like frost under morning sun. He breathes for the first time as if the air itself forgives him. Outside the window, dawn arrives on quiet wings. Mist rolls over turrets, carrying birdsong in muted tones, careful not to wake those still dreaming. Lumiere eases shutters closed to let sleep linger. Chip nestles in Mrs. Potts's porcelain arms, steam puffing rhythmic lullabies. Philippe grazes in the dew-dappled courtyard, waiting patiently for Belle's return yet untroubled, sensing she is safe. Belle and the beast linger beside the rose a while longer. They speak of favorite chapters, of breakfast pastries, of tomorrow's gentle possibilities. When Belle finally retires to her guest chamber, she opens her worn novel, now blooming with fresh pressed rose petals gifted by enchanted hands. She smiles, then lets the words blur into silver moonlight. Somewhere in the castle's highest tower, An unseen clock ticks in perfect companionship with closing eyelids. Candle flames dim. The corridors release a collective sigh. And high upon that pedestal, the enchanted rose glows a shade brighter, its fallen petals resting like velvet promises on the base below. Peace, at last, blooms in their silence. Midnight settles over the fjord like a feather quilt, muffling every sound beneath thick velvet snow clouds. Arendelle's lanterns have long since blinked out, leaving windows dark and streets hushed. Only the castle's highest balcony glimmers, soft sapphire light drifting through frost-webbed railings in gentle pulses, as steady as a heartbeat. There, Elsa stands wrapped in a simple traveling cloak, pale hair loose against the night. The world feels weightless, suspended in hush between snow-soft breaths. She closes her eyes, inhales air as crisp as new parchment, and steps over the balustrade. One foot touches nothing, yet the ice responds, forming a narrow stair, translucent and sure, that winds downward like a ribbon of moonlight. She descends without hurry, each step blooming beneath her boots, casting prisms across the courtyard. No guards stir, even the fountains rest beneath powdery mounds. With a whisper of fabric, Elsa reaches the gate and slips into the untouched streets beyond, leaving only the glimmer of silver footprints that fade as soon as they're noticed. Snowflakes swirl around her, drawn to an invisible orbit. She lifts a hand, palm upward, fingers relaxed. At her command, a single flake lengthens, stretching tendrils into delicate petals. They widen, curl, and interlock. An ice flower no larger than a child's laugh, floating just above her skin. Elsa smiles, coaxing its stem to spiral like crystal ivy. She releases it, and the flower joins the swirling dance, glowing faintly against the dark. Across the courtyard archway, another figure watches, boots crunching once, twice. Anna lingers beneath a lamppost, cheeks pink from the cold, plaited hair peeking from her hood. She knows her sister's moonlit wanderings, times when Elsa's thoughts turn too bright and need empty skies to cool. Anna doesn't call out. She simply begins to follow, leaving respectful space, her presence a promise rather than an interruption. She carries no torch, only quiet faith that when she arrives beside Elsa, the night will accept them both. Elsa's path leads toward the palace gardens, dormant rows draped in white, fountains captured mid-splash by winter's hush. Their stone benches and lilac hedges lie buried beneath powdered silence, waiting for the hush of spring. Yet in Elsa's eyes, even this stillness carries hidden seeds of wonder. She steps onto the central lawn and spreads her arms like a conductor before an orchestra of snowflakes. Ice arcs outward beneath her feet, unfurling like silk. A frozen tendril rises, fans into translucent leaves, then splinters into hundreds of minuscule veins, each vein sprouting petals so thin they tremble under their own beauty. Another bloom follows, then another, until the ground ripples with glassy blossoms that glow in starlight. Roses, lilies, forget-me-nots, each imagined from memory and dream. They do not wither, instead they chime, faint crystalline notes chiming as they open. Anna steps closer, breath catching. "Elsa," she whispers, voice floating on the silence. Elsa turns but doesn't startle. She's known Anna was there, the way the moon knows the tide. Their eyes meet, blue to blue, and a warmth flares that no frost can quench. Anna does not tell Elsa to stop. She does not beg her to come inside. She only smiles, gloved hands tucked against her chest. "Need a hand?" Elsa's reply is a nod that is almost a bow. She gestures, and a narrow wand of ice grows from the garden floor, curling into a spiral handle sized for Anna's grip. Anna accepts it, feeling a pleasant chill hum up her arm. No pain, only cool invitation. Elsa lifts her own hand again, shaping a second wand for herself. Together, without a single spoken plan, they begin to weave. Anna's strokes are playful, tracing loops that erupt into delicate bells and curling vines. She sketches a snowflake, and Elsa catches the outline, sharpening the angles until each facet glitters like polished diamond dust. Elsa conjures towering arches, icy trellises crisscrossed with shimmering blossoms, while Anna dots their corners with miniature twinkling buds. The sisters' laughter, hushed for so many seasons, escapes in warm puffs, frosting the night with joy. Above them, stars peer curiously through drifting veils of cloud, their silver light refracted into a mosaic of soft blues and lilacs across the ice garden. The castle's snowy roofs reflect the glow, giving the illusion that the entire city has slipped into a shared dream. Somewhere high on the parapet, a watchman stirs, but, seeing only beauty, lets sleep reclaim him. A squeak breaks the quiet. Olaf tromps past a hedge of shimmering hydrangeas, nose twitching. "Oh, it's like snack time for the soul," he exclaims, waggling his stick arms. "Hope you don't mind if I add a little decoration?" Without waiting, he pats together 2 tiny snowballs, shaping ears and stout legs. Soon, a snow bunny hops between crystal stems, round eyes reflecting the garden's glow. Olaf hums a gentle lullaby, something about warm hugs and summer suns, while crafting a second bunny, then a third, until a small warren frolics at his snowy feet. Elsa and Anna pause to watch. The bunnies bounce, leaving flurries that dissolve back into the lawn like sugar in tea. Anna's laughter trembles into stillness. She turns to Elsa and finds her sister gazing at the scene with a softness once reserved only for childhood windows in winter. No fear hides behind Elsa's eyes. No shiver of loneliness clings to her shoulders. The chill that pours from her fingertips is artistry, neither curse nor burden. Simply the language her heart speaks when words seem too small. Snow continues to fall, but gently now, as though the sky itself tiptoes not to disturb the peace. Each flake touches the ice petals and fuses, adding new layers of sparkle. It feels to Anna like a lullaby's final verse, the moment just before a child surrenders to sleep. She lowers her wand, brushing stray snow from her braids. "Hey," she murmurs, stepping into Elsa's circle of starlight. Elsa sets her own wand aside. It dissolves into drifting mist. The sisters face each other, silence a comfortable hearth between them. Out of habit, Anna reaches to adjust Elsa's cloak. Elsa reaches at the same time, intending the same kindness. Their hands meet, fingers intertwining instinctively. In that simple contact, every storm they've weathered, fear, anger, misunderstanding, melts like morning frost. They breathe together, steady and slow, until the night seems to breathe with them. Olaf's off-key humming fades as he tiptoes away, leaving the sisters alone amid their shared creation. The garden glows brighter now, as if aware its artists need no audience. Elsa lifts her free hand and, with a delicate twist of her wrist, guides snowflakes into a swirling spiral above them. The wind shapes the flurry into a canopy, a softly spinning ceiling of crystal lace. Each flake finds a place, interlocking, until an ice gazebo stands overhead. Walls open to the night, roof shimmering like a frozen aurora. Within it, the air feels somehow warmer, more intimate, as candlelight blooms along the arches in tiny frost lanterns. Anna tilts her head, eyes reflecting the lantern's dusky glow. "It's beautiful," she breathes. "You're beautiful, Elsa." The words land softly, unburdened by surprise or hesitation. Elsa's cheeks flush with more than chill. She lowers her gaze but does not look away. "I only ever wanted to protect you," she answers, voice thin but sure. "I never realized I could share this." She sweeps a hand around the glittering gazebo, ice swans perched on balustrades, bushes heavy with crystal lilacs. "Thank you for following. Anna chuckles, squeezing Elsa's hand. Always. She steps closer, laying her head against Elsa's shoulder the way she did as a child when storms rattled the shutters. Elsa's arms encircle her, cloak wrapping them both. For a long span of heartbeats, neither moves. Snow continues to fall beyond the gazebo walls. Yet inside, there is only warmth. Elsa's magic lingers in the air like soft chimes, shaping the silence into something that feels alive. At length, Anna shivers, not from cold, but from the late hour tugging at her bones. Elsa notices and gently disengages, raising a gloved palm. In the garden path a few paces away, ice swirls upward, widening into a doorway of pale blue glass. Beyond it crackles the orange glow of a hearth, an illusion, yet so convincing one can feel its promise of heat. Elsa leads Anna through, and the doorway melts the moment they cross, sealing cold outside and cozy embers within. They find themselves seated in the castle's north library, though neither remembers walking there. Tall bookshelves stretch overhead, draped with icicle garlands that shimmer in firelight. A single armchair drawn close to the stone hearth holds a thick woolen blanket. Elsa guides Anna into the chair before kneeling to stoke invisible logs. Flames leap obediently, crackling with soft applause. Anna sinks deeper, eyes half-lidded. Olaf waddles in, each snow bunny balanced atop one another like a teetering tower. He deposits them at Anna's feet with theatrical care, then folds himself like a sleepy puppy on a rug that miraculously feels warm against his snowy form. His humming fades into a sigh. Elsa draws the blanket up to Anna's chin. "Rest," she whispers. "The garden will wait." Anna's fingers seek Elsa's wrist and find it, lingering just long enough to convey every word she needn't speak. "I trust you. I am here. We are us." Elsa smiles, small, content, unshaken. She sits upon the hearth's edge, letting the fire paint dancing pigments across her snow-pale skin. For a moment she watches the flames, noting how their warmth is not an enemy but an equal, each respecting the other's glow. She closes her eyes, hearing the faint chiming of their ice petals outside, the low snores of a lovable snowman, the steadied breathing of the sister who once saved her from solitude's storm. Morning will come, as it always does, rosy and bustling, with castle staff clearing snow, merchants raising shutters, and townsfolk greeting another brisk day. The ice garden may glimmer for a few hours before the sun softens its edges, but tonight belongs to quiet magic no sunrise can claim. Tonight belongs to sisters who finally understand that love asks not for perfection, only presence. In the fireplace, sparks drift upward, fading into shadows that dance along carved beams. Beyond the frosted panes, snowfall gentles to a fine powder, resting softly upon an already hushed world. Fear, once sharp enough to freeze a kingdom, has thawed into something gentler. Respect, openness, and evergreen hope. Elsa feels that hope swirling through her veins like starlight in water, guiding her heartbeat toward peace she once thought impossible. She leans back against the chair, shoulder to Anna's, letting drowsiness settle heavy as a quilt. She does not banish the fire, nor does she conjure more ice. Both warmth and chill share the room without contest, two halves of a lullaby that leads all within earshot towards sleep. As her lashes flutter closed, she senses the last snowflakes drifting into the silent garden, licking at the edges of crystal petals, tucking them in for dawn. The sisters breathe in unison. The snow bunnies curl into snowy nests. Olaf sighs, mumbling about warm cocoa dreams, and somewhere outside, the Snow Queen's garden glows, an orchard of frozen stars whispering lullabies to anyone with a soft enough heart to listen. Midnight hushes the open sea into a cradle of glass. Far below, where moonbeams barely kiss the coral rooftops of Atlantica, Ariel settles onto a sun-bleached throne of driftwood, her collection of forgotten treasures Silver spoons, cracked porcelain, a music box that no longer whines, gleams like tiny constellations scattered across the sand. She presses the seashell of a long-lost locket to her ear and waits. No melody lives there anymore, yet Ariel imagines faint echoes of human lullabies curling inside the hollow shell. Soft words about rocking boats and gentle nights, promises that dreams arrive on quiet wings. A pod of dolphins swirls past, chirping sleepy greetings. Ariel answers with a wave, but keeps her eyes half closed, listening to the hush inside each distant note, to the promise that somewhere above, voices drift on salt wind rather than rolling currents. She hums back, stitching dolphin clicks into harmonies she's stolen from surface myths. Tonight, curiosity grows restless. It tugs at her fins like tide pulling shoreward. Before she can doubt the impulse, Ariel coils, then glides upward through rippling tunnels of moonlight. Seagrass parts, coral arches blur, and the water cools into velvety indigo. Bubble trails chase her like pearl necklaces unfastened in a hurry. Above, the surface shimmers, a mirror too bright, too thin, urging, break through. Ariel does, exploding into starlit air with a spray of silver droplets. She inhales deeply, lungs adjusting to wind instead of water, and rides the gentle rise and fall of a nighttime swell. The world smells of salt and faraway fires, but also of possibility. Overhead, the sky blooms heavy with stars, thousands, millions, spinning slow waltzes no eye on land can fully trace. Ariel tilts her head, wet hair fanned behind her like a comet's tail. She listens, really listens, and hears what only dreamers notice, the faintest shimmer of music whispering between constellations. It's neither wave nor wind. It's the universe humming lullabies of its own, each note stretching across galaxies, tumbling down to meet the ocean. She smiles, a secret kept with the cosmos, and answers by humming the tune she found inside that silent locket, filling in the missing bars. A gentle current guides her toward a crescent of pale sand. Torches stand unlit along the abandoned pier. Even the gulls have surrendered their quarrels for sleep. Only one warm glow flickers at the water's edge, a small fire crackling beside Prince Eric. He sits on a washed-up timber, boots off, ankles buried in cool sand, his loyal dog Max curled at his feet. Moonbeams dance on the prince's dark hair, while his hands coax a soft, yearning melody from a wooden flute. It is a tune meant for nobody, an offering to the night perhaps, or to some half-remembered dream of a girl he once glimpsed beneath the surf. Ariel keeps to deeper water, nose barely above the surface, mesmerized. Each note rises upward like a lit paper lantern, gliding towards star-strewn vaults that echo her earlier song. The flute folds into their cosmic choir, and suddenly Ariel knows the words those human lullabies once carried. Hush now, hush, the night is yours, the night is kind. An impulse, reckless but gentle, blooms behind her ribs. She swims closer, silent as a secret. Moonlight finds her eyes, and they shimmer sea green, reflecting the bonfire flicker. Eric pauses mid-song, sensing a presence. He looks out, sees nothing but playful ripples. Still, his heart stirs. He resumes the melody, softer than before, as if inviting whatever listens to draw nearer still. Ariel emerges waist-deep, arms resting on a barnacled rock, letting the flame-lit glow brush her face. She sings, not words, not yet, but a lilting harmony to weave around his flute. The two melodies entwine, like twin ribbons swirling in evening tide. Eric's eyes widen. Max lifts his muzzle but stays quiet, as though the hush itself has told him, "Be still, bear witness." There are no words between mermaid and prince. They share only notes held aloft by moonlight. Ariel inches closer, water sighing around her. Eric sets aside his flute, stands, and walks slowly toward the shoreline, stopping where waves kiss his ankles. They regard each other, distance bridged by starlight and salt air. No fear clouds Eric's gaze, only wonder so pure it feels childlike. Ariel's heartbeat thrums in her fingertips. She lifts one hand above the water's edge, palm glimmering with droplets that reflect firelight. Eric mirrors the gesture, extending his hand downward. A thin veil of moon-forged mist hangs between skin and water, a fragile boundary neither quite dares to break. Instead, they move in slow circles, Eric stepping sideways on sand, Ariel gliding parallel in the shallows. Their dance draws a lazy figure 8 across land and sea, feet and fins stirring sand and foam alike. Music remains, though no instrument plays. It's their breaths, their heartbeats, the hush of waves synchronized to an unspoken tempo. A gust lifts embers, sending them spiraling skyward like tiny meteors. Ariel laughs quietly, and the sound becomes a trill that spins those embers into new constellations above. Eric chuckles back, matching her rhythm with soft claps. This is how they talk, a dialogue of small miracles, sparks, splashes, whispers that belong to no language but belonging itself. Hours slip by unnoticed. The tide inches inward, creeping over Ariel's shoulders, coaxing her seaward. She feels it, a gentle reminder from the deep. Dawn will soon smear pink across the horizon, unveiling secrets best kept under starlight. She looks to the shimmering water, then back to Eric. He seems to understand. Sadness flickers across his features, but it is tender, not desperate. Ariel cups both hands and raises them, offering a parting gift. From her palms, droplets rise, freezing midair into tiny spheres of translucent aqua. They drift toward Eric like glowing pearls, hovering just before him. As they touch his fingertips, they burst into faint, bell-like chimes, a part of her song he can keep. His answering smile is gratitude shaped like dawn's first golden ray. The ocean sighs again, stronger now. Ariel sinks lower, tail brushing sand one last time. She forms silent words. Goodbye, for now. Eric cannot hear them, but he feels them in the hush that follows, in the way the waves cradle his ankles like a gentle promise. With a final glance, eyes glistening brighter than any star, Ariel flips backward into deeper water. She descends through shafts of moonlight fading toward gray. Above, Eric watches the ripples still, hand pressed to his heart, lulled by the leftover echo of lullabies neither fully remembers, yet both forever carry. Under the surface, Ariel's hair unfurls behind her like a red banner in slow tide. She swims downward past sleepy seahorses and yawning clams, each creature drifting into night's lull. Her treasure grotto awaits. But tonight she brings no trinkets, only the memory of music threaded with human longing. It hums in her chest, guiding her through shadowed canyons until Atlantica's lights glow faint ahead. As she nears home, currents soften and the sea hushes, cradling her with the same lullaby she once imagined in a silent locket. She closes her eyes, just for a breath, letting starlight she'd borrowed from the surface settle into her bones. Somewhere above, the prince sits beside a dying fire, flute resting across his knees, and thinks of tides that speak in song. Ariel whispers into the water, voice no louder than a pearl's sigh. Good night, sea. Keep this secret. Bubbles rise, carrying the words to no one and to everything. She glides through her grotto entrance, her silhouette swallowed by coral shadows. Yet the ocean around her glimmers just a little brighter, as though every grain of sand remembers starlight long after dawn. And so, the mermaid who danced with stars drifts into dreaming currents, neither fully of sea nor fully of shore, cradled by the lullaby of what could be. Somewhere on a quiet beach, A prince hums the same tune, each note folding the distance between their worlds until dawn finally calls them both to rest. Night tiptoes across the forest on silver paws, laying ribbons of quiet over every branch and stone. Owls hush their questions to a single sober hoot, and the creek stills its chatter, mindful of the hour. In a clearing dressed in soft moss and candle-bright windows stands a storybook cottage. 7 stooped dormers, 1 curling chimney, and flower boxes that spill sleepy petals like yawns. Inside, Snow White moves through lamplight that flickers warm and gold. Her raven hair glints blue where moonbeams sneak through lace curtains, but her smile is dawn itself. Gentle, promising, sure. She kneels by the hearth where a hedgehog curls on a doily, quills flattened in trust. With a tiny carved wood brush, snow sweeps along his back in slow, soothing strokes. The hedgehog melts into the motion, eyes lidding, breath tiny and even. A doe pads in, hooves clicking politely across the oak floor. Snow White rises, trades brushes, and combs along the doe's neck, smoothing fur that smells of dew and fern. A bluebird perches on the mantel, trilling a feathery lullaby that drifts around rafters and settles in cozy nooks. One by one, chipmunks, rabbits, and squirrels line up like children waiting for bedtime stories. Snow tends to each: a squirrel's tangled tail, a rabbit's dusty ears, feathers that needed straightening. Every creature leaves lighter, softer, as if brushed free of the day. Beyond the cabin door, the dwarfs shuffle home along a pebbled path, lanterns bobbing like sleepy fireflies. Doc leads, spectacles crooked with thoughtful use. He recites a mineral chart under his breath, practicing tomorrow's lesson. Behind him, Happy hums, pulling a wagon loaded with polished gems that wink under starlight. Grumpy pretends not to hum along, but his footsteps tap the beat anyway. Bashful holds a bouquet of wild violets he picked in secret. Sneezy sniffs them, twitches, and almost erupts, but the hush of night coaxes the sneeze back down. Dopey, pockets full of borrowed fireflies, twirls in silent delight. Sleepy walks last, already half dreaming, hat sliding low over his eyes. The cottage door swings open, and warm light washes over the group. "Welcome home," Snow White whispers. Her voice is a quilt. The dwarfs step beneath it, shoulders dropping, cheeks pink with comfort, boots thud, picks clatter, and lanterns dim as each dwarf melts into his bedtime ritual. Doc claims the rocker by the hearth, book in lap, reading spectacles perched. He mouths words: galena, hematite, malachite, with grave importance until pages blur and eyelids drift. Sleepy topples into a patchwork armchair, hat over nose, snoring in slow crests and troughs, tide pulling distant dreams. Bashful retreats behind a cupboard door to press violets into a journal. No one sees, then tiptoes to the window to watch moonlight silver the petals. Sneezy steams a kettle of pine needle broth that clears the nose and calms the heart. Each sip is a promise that tomorrow's breezes will be gentler. Happy hands out slices of spice cake, humming a tune that makes crumbs dance on plates. Dopey sets his bottled fireflies on the sill. They glow like miniature suns, dimming in perfect rhythm to lull the room. Grumpy, after much harumphing, sits by Snow White while she stitches a loose button on his sleeve, grumbling thanks he thinks she can't hear. Candlelight softens. Shadows climb rafters like slow vines. Outside, the mirror-framed night listens. Far away, in a high stone tower hushed by cobwebbed drapes, the Queen's magic mirror stands cold and dull. No question curls from her lips tonight. She sleeps beneath heavy velvet, crown crooked, dreams tangled. The mirror, once a gate to envy and thunder, reflects only moon-pale dust motes. Its surface, having witnessed too much hunger, rests in welcome silence. Power forgotten, it releases a sigh, like glass cooling after fire. A hush rolls down palace halls, easing bolts and latches, granting servants deeper sleep than they've known in years. Somewhere in that silence, a kingdom exhales. Back in the forest, Snow White drapes a shawl over her shoulders and steps outside. The dwarfs line the porch, cake crumbs brushed from beards, curiosity bright in their eyes. Snow carries a basket of shiny seeds, smooth as tiny suns, apple seeds, each saved from fruit too sweet to forget. She kneels at the edge of the clearing where rich soil waits beneath fern fronds. The dwarfs gather around, Doc with a gardening trowel, Dopey with a watering can, Sneezy clutching a handkerchief just in case. One by one, Snow drops seeds into small pockets of earth. Happy pats soil gently, sealing hope below. Bashful sprinkles the first water, eyes shining brighter than fireflies. They work in reverent quiet, broken only by distant owls and Sleepy's muffled yawn. Snow hums a lullaby older than any kingdom, a tune her mother sang of morning light wrapping seedlings in gold. The song drifts through pines, settling in nests, weaving into spider silk. Even Grumpy's scowl softens. He wipes his sleeve discreetly across eyes stung by something that is definitely not a tear. As the last seed rests, clouds slide apart, and the moon spills silver coins across freshly turned soil. Something stirs beneath. Too soon for roots, but not for magic. Tiny green needles peek up, shimmer, then settle, as if the earth itself is eager but patient. The dwarfs gasp. Snow just smiles. Faith, after all, is a kind of knowing. Inside the cottage, beds beckon. Doc's book slips from fingers. Sleepy's snores climb the chimney. Bashful closes his journal with a shy click. Snow White moves from bunk to bunk, pulling quilts to chins, pressing a kiss to each weathered brow. Even Grumpy pretends sleep so he won't miss his turn. The woodland animals nest in corners, rabbits curled in bonnets, birds tucked under wing, hedgehogs snoring in a teacup. Fireflies dim to soft amber, candles shrink to blue tears. Snow slips outside one final time. The clearing glows, apple seeds dreaming beneath, stars glittering above, owl feathers drifting like soft punctuation marks in the air. She clasps her hands, whispers a wish not for herself, but for every living thing. May morning come gentle, may fear stay sleeping. A breeze answers, rustling leaves in what sounds like agreement. She steps back in, latches the door, and settles into her own cot beside the hearth. Flames fade to embers, painting the room in slow breathing red. High above, moonlight brushes the silent mirror one last time. For a heartbeat, its surface softens, reflecting not a queen's hardened face, but the distant image of a girl planting hope in loamy earth. The glass does not speak. It simply remembers, and in remembering, finds rest. In the forest cottage, every chest rises and falls in peaceful cadence. 7 dwarfs, 1 princess, dozens of woodland hearts. Outside, apple seeds listen to the night's lullaby and stretch unseen roots toward promise. If stars keep watch, unblinking, unconcerned with crowns or envy. And somewhere between mirror and moonlight, a hush thicker than velvet drapes the world, assuring all within it fold that this night, at least, is safe and free. Nightfall hushes the village of Motunui, draping coconut palms and ribbons of indigo. From porch to shoreline, every torch has surrendered its flame, leaving only amber embers to smolder like sleeping fireflies. At the far edge of the sand, where soft waves braid whispers into the breeze, Moana swings gently in a woven hammock strung between 2 leaning palms. Her bare feet dangle, toes brushing air scented with tidal salt and sweet noni blossoms. Above, a wide quilt of stars trembles, waiting to tell ancient stories. Moana inhales, chest rising with the rhythm of tide, and lets her gaze slip toward the horizon where sea merges with sky in a single velvet seam. The ocean answers with a lullaby older than maps. Hush, hush, hush. The swish of foam across sand, the sigh of water beneath coral arches, the steady hush beneath every cresting wave. Together they chant a melody that wraps itself around Moana's heart. She closes her eyes. The hammock rocks in time with that song, a cradle carved of moonlight and rope. Wind fingers stray strands of her hair, threading them into lazy curls that dance across her cheeks. In the hush between breaths, she imagines the ocean raising one watery hand, tracing circles on her brow the way her grandmother Tala once did when skies were crowded with worry. Moana smiles at the memory. The ocean seems to smile back, smoothing the surface into silver glass before rolling on again. Above, constellations deepen. There is Ikua, the playful manta, Te Waka Otui, the celestial canoe, Hina Ti, the white moon goddess guiding navigators to safe shores. Moana knows them each by heart, old friends who once pointed her prow toward Te Fiti's heart. Tonight, they wink like grandchildren cozy in the lap of the cosmos, promising they will never turn away. The hammock's gentle sway tilts Moana's thoughts into dreaming shape. She sees herself standing on the beach, yet not the quiet moonlit one beneath her feet, but some bright secret shore 1,000 horizons away. Warm breeze lifts the edges of her sail, the one Gramatala painted with a manta ray crest, and invites her aboard. Without sound, she answers. The canoe glides, the ocean parts, as though greeting a returning queen. She is sailing, but she does not feel wind or wood, only a weightless drifting through silky dark. Waves clap once under the hull like hands applauding a bedtime tale, then hush themselves again. Moana looks back to find the hammock swinging empty on Motunui's beach, a peaceful reminder of where her true body rests. Yet she feels no worry. Dreams are safe passage. The ocean has sworn it. Ahead, a cluster of islands glows faint green on the horizon. They pulse as though each mountain hides a giant heartbeat. Moana's canoe draws near. She recognizes none of these shapes from charts, yet they feel familiar. The way a lullaby feels known even when you cannot name its singer. The first island shimmers with black sand coves and glowing tide pools that reflect galaxies like liquid mirrors. Here, tiny crabs carve symbols into the shore. Spirals, waves, the shape of Te Fiti's heart. They scuttle away, leaving luminous trails that wink out beneath gentle surf. Moana's bare feet sink into the warm sand. Each grain hums faintly, as if storing laughter gathered from every voyager who ever set foot here. The ocean laps her ankles, reminding her not to linger. She nods and returns to her canoe, heart glowing a shade deeper, pulse weaving in time with the island's secret beat. The second island rises like a sleeping turtle, shell covered in moss and white flowers bright as starlight. Moisture drips from ferns, filling air with sweet earth. Moana climbs a path of cushioned leaves until she finds a waterfall shaped like braided crystal ribbons. At its base, water collects in a pool so clear the bottom seems a sky unto itself. She leans to sip and tastes memories. Her first attempt to sail past the reef, her father's protective gaze, her grandmother's laughter spinning stories of ancestors who rode wild currents. The water soothes, whispers, "You carry them all, and they carry you." She returns to her canoe, heart now layered with cool moss and echoing waterfalls. The third island appears in dawn's faint promise. The sky behind it is brightening to lavender, though the true Motunui dawn remains hours away. This island glows brightest. From its very shores, vibrant green tendrils climb skyward, weaving blossoms of every hue, each petal shimmering as though lit from within. At its center, a gentle hill pulses with life. No volcano, no cliff, just a mound of earth breathing. Moana steps ashore, and the ground welcomes her with a sigh of soft grass. She knows, even before she sees her, that Te Fiti rests here. Indeed, from the hilltop's crest, the goddess rises, tall as a mountain at home, but tonight smaller, kinder in scale to fit the hush of dreams. Her body is covered in vines, blooming with fragrant night flowers. Emerald eyes glow, reflecting every star overhead. Moana lifts her hand in greeting. Te Fiti's palm lowers, the size of a beach umbrella, and brushes a strand of hair from Moana's brow. Leaf tips graze skin, warm as sunrise. A pulse of green light passes into Moana's chest, expanding like gentle thunder. Within it, she feels seedlings stirring, not just in soil but in hearts. Hers, her people's, perhaps every voyager yet to be born. She has no need to speak. Her gratitude flows through that touch, weaving into Te Fiti's vines, branching outward until blossoms open all around. Petals release scents of hibiscus, vanilla, and fresh rain. Wordless blessings inhaled in one deep breath. The goddess gestures toward the sky. Moana looks up. The constellations have shifted, forming a perfect circle overhead. Each star burns brighter than she remembers, like flint struck against steel. In their center whirls a faint shimmer, an ocean in miniature, spiraling, inviting. The stars are maps, yes, but tonight they are also doors guiding dream voyagers home. Moana nods. She turns back to her canoe, but Te Fiti presses a glowing flower into her palm. Its petals fold around a seed, small as a tear. Moana understands. Carry possibility wherever you return. She thanks Te Fiti in silence, placing the flower near her heart. The canoe eases back into water that glows emerald for an eye blink, then lapses to moonlit blue. Moana steadies the sail and feels the stars tug the mast like invisible ropes, guiding her along a glitter-dusted current. Each constellation flickers once, acknowledging her path. Old friends lighting lanterns to show the road. Behind her, Te Fiti lowers into the hill of blossoms, returning to slumber. Ahead, horizon melts into dawn's first blush. Yet Moana knows actual sunrise is far off. Here, in dreams, time folds differently, playing notes not found in waking songs. The voyage slows, currents thicken into velvet. Moana's canoe drifts, wavelets tapping wood like sleepy fingers playing final lullaby measures. She glances down. Water has become sky, stars reflected bright beneath hullboards. She kneels, trailing fingertips. Ripples scatter constellations, then gather them anew. She whispers into that mirrored sea, voice softer than hush on sand. Fa'afatai, thank you. The words belong to many tongues, her ancestors, her grandmothers, her own. They drift outward in silver rings. The ocean replies by lifting the canoe in one gentle swell, rocking it like a cradle. Moana sits cross-legged, back against the mast, eyes half-lidded. The world narrows to rhythm. Rise, dip, sigh. Stars wink slower. Sails whisper less. The hammock on Motunui swings nearby in another world, waiting for her form to settle back. Somehow, she feels both places at once, connected by threads woven from sea spray and starlight. She closes her eyes fully. The canoe dissolves to mist, and palms materialize overhead once more. Rope creaks gently. The hammock sways. Cool sand lies beneath, island breeze above. Moana's chest rises, falls. Night cradles her with practiced tenderness. From some distant reef, a whale sings, low, resonant, almost like Tala's voice calling stories across time. Moana smiles in sleep. The seed Te Fiti granted pulses against her heart even here, glimmering faintly through fabric, promising new growth with dawn. But for now, growth can wait. Dream soil is planting enough. Clouds drift, blotting constellations one by one, yet the sky remains friendly. Even hidden, stars keep watch. The ocean's lullaby softens to a hush almost indistinguishable from the breath slipping between Moana's parted lips. On shore, torches stay dark, honoring dreams. In treetops, frigate birds preen, then fold beaks under wing. Somewhere far beyond reefs, Tefiti smiles within her slumber. Motunui rests, seeds rest, hearts rest, guided by a voyager's whisper of gratitude, carried on tide and starlight toward a dawn gentle enough to bloom everyone awake in peace. Night settles over New Orleans like velvet sprinkled with powdered sugar. Street lamps flicker gold along the quiet riverfront, casting slow-moving reflections on the Mississippi, each ripple a hush of brass and hush of percussion long after the last steamboat band has gone to bed. In the gentle stillness, the city's heartbeat lingers. Soft trumpet sighs drifting from an upstairs window, a distant train horn swaying like a lullaby, the light clip-clop of a carriage heading home. Over it all, one scent glides between balconies and iron scrollwork. Warm rue kissed by spices, promising comfort to anyone still awake enough to breathe deep. Inside an airy corner apartment above Tiana's palace, chef's lamps are dimmed to firefly glow. Yet in the kitchen, a single pot gleams copper beneath a low flame. Tiana stands barefoot on cool tile, apron strings tied in a sleepy bow behind her. She stirs slowly, wooden spoon, tracing lazy figure eights through gumbo the color of midnight mahogany. Steam curls around her cheeks like silky ghosts, carrying whispers of andouille, crab, sweet onion, and just a hint of sassafras leaf picked fresh from the back alley garden. She hums under her breath, something gentle, half lullaby, half riverside prayer, keeping time with the spoon's quiet swish. Above her, the skylight frames a piece of Louisiana night sky. Clouds part. The evening star, bright as Mama Odie's grin, winks down. Fireflies drift beneath the glass like tiny lanterns let loose by children of the moon. Each pulse blinks in rhythm with Tiana's breath. She pauses to sprinkle a secret pinch of cayenne, small enough not to wake anyone, just enough to remind the tongue of sunrise when morning comes. The back door creaks. Naveen slides in from the balcony, hair mussed by river breeze, shirt sleeves rolled, banjo cradled like a sleepy pet. He rests an elbow on the doorframe and leans, grinning at the sight of his favorite chef lost in half dreams. Without speaking, he raises the banjo and plucks a slow blue note chord. It floats across the kitchen, soft, mellow, the color of coffee stirred with cream. Tiana smiles without looking up. The gumbo bubbles in approval. Naveen hums an old jazz standard his father once played on sultry nights in Maldonia, back when palace halls echoed with waltzes and courtyard fountains sang along. Tonight, the tune drifts into something looser, like moss swaying in bayou wind. He closes his eyes and lets fingers glide from chord to chord, weaving mellow notes around the steady simmer of gumbo. The kitchen becomes a quiet stage. Drum made of bubbling pot, trumpet played by tea kettle whistle, bass thump of Naveen's sandal heel tapping tile, jazz so soft it feels like breathing. A gentle rattle at the window interrupts. Tiana turns. The sash slides up, and in pops a pink and pearl hat sporting a grin wide enough to light Bourbon Street. "Evening, sugar plums," Lottie chirps, cheeks glowing, perfume trailing magnolia and warm caramel. She balances a wide-rimmed pie in mittened hands. "Thought I'd send a lil' thank you dessert for that gumbo you boxed Mama earlier." She slides the pie onto the sill, pecan praline perched atop custard the color of moonlit cafe au lait. Tiana laughs low, wiping flour from her nose. "Girl, you know we still got sweet beignets in the warmer." "Oh, honey, there's always room for pie after gumbo," Lottie replies, eyes sparkling. She blows a kiss. One silver sprinkle of glitter floats off her powdered cheek into the night and retreats into the carriage waiting below. The clip-clop fades, leaving cinnamon in the air. Tiana lifts the pie, sets it beside cooling trays, and returns to her pot. Naveen softens his strum, letting final chord tremble into hush. He leans over and kisses Tiana's shoulder, tasting a hint of bay leaf on steam. "Smells heavenly, mon amour," he whispers. Outside, the balcony doors swing wider, stirred by a breeze thick with lily and cypress. It carries distant laughter, maybe revelers finishing late-night po' boys by Jackson Square, maybe ghosts of yesterday's parade. On that breeze floats another sound, bubbly, rhythmic, neither kettle nor trumpet. Tiny orbs drift across balcony rail, each glowing emerald and gold, fizzing like champagne in moonlight. Tiana's eyes widen. "Mama Odie," she murmurs. Sure enough, the bubbles twirl into the kitchen, trailing sweet honeysuckle and bright laughter. They circle the gumbo pot, pop, releasing sparks that sizzle but never scorch. As they burst, colors swirl into the roux, deepening its hue, thickening flavor with a pinch of magic only Bayou sages know. One bubble settles on Naveen's banjo, twinkling before dissolving into a perfect harmonic that hums through the strings. Another lands on the pie, garnishing crust with glitter like powdered moonstone. A third perches on Tiana's spoon. When it pops, the gumbo's surface shivers, releasing a scent so comforting it feels like being wrapped in Grandma Eudora's patchwork quilt. From somewhere beyond brick and poplar, Mama Odie's voice drifts in, half song, half sermon, holy joy. "Don't forget, lil' tadpole, dreams ain't just for wishin', they for tastin' too." The kitchen chuckles, cupboards rattling in soft applause. Tiana nods, stirring slower, letting gumbo find its final lull. Naveen sets down the banjo and retrieves 3 bowls from the shelf embroidered with oak leaf cutouts. He ladles gumbo, steamy, fragrant, into each. The broth swirls thick around okra wheels and shrimp that curl like commas, pausing the sentence of night for just one delicious breath. He sets the bowls on a small bistro table by the balcony doors, then lights one stubby candle left over from closing time. Flame flickers, matching firefly glow outside. Together they sit. No grand feast, just small sips, slow spoonfuls, letting flavors settle into soul and star-like. Gumbo warms throats, fills silence with gratitude. Naveen's foot brushes Tiana's under the table. She taps back, rhythm matching River's lazy pulse. After a while, Naveen leans back in his chair, gazing at the Big Dipper balanced over St. Louis Cathedral spires. "You think the stars ever get tired of watching us humans hustle?" he asks. Tiana smiles. "Maybe they hustle in their own way, shine-in time cards punchin' in at dusk, punchin' out at dawn." He laughs, head tipped to moon. "Then let's give him a show worth clocking overtime." He rises, steps onto the balcony, and extends a playful bow. "May I have this dance, Chef Tiana?" She arches an eyebrow but sets spoon down, cheeks dimpling. Barefoot, she steps onto cool wrought iron. The city below is hushed, but a lone saxophone croons from a distant alley, notes draping over rooftops. Naveen offers invisible accompaniment, hums the bass line, snapping fingers in gentle click-click cadence. They sway. No swirling gowns, no ballrooms, just tank tops, flower dust aprons, moonlit skin, and nighttime breeze. Feet slide quietly across iron. Each turn stirs air scented of hot sugar and night-blooming jasmine. Fireflies spiral around them in lazy corkscrews, painting light trails that linger like brushstrokes on invisible canvas. One lands on Tiana's shoulder, then lifts to join the others, leaving a sparkle in its wake. Naveen spins her once, twice, then draws her near. For a heartbeat, city lights blur. Only candle, stars, and gumbo steam exist. In that hush, wishes feel not like longing, but like breath, already inside, just waiting to be exhaled. They pause at the railing, side by side, elbows touching. Tiana rests her chin on crossed arms, eyes on river shimmer. She whispers, half to herself, half to the ancient water rolling past. "Thank you." 2 simple words, but the river hears. Currents answer with a hush like water over mossy stone, carrying gratitude toward gulf waves, up to clouds, down to roots of cypress still listening after centuries. Below, street lamps flicker once, then ease to darker amber, as if even electricity grows drowsy. Windows across the quarter dim. A barkeeper wipes final glass, flips an open sign to closed. A streetcar clangs soft last bell, rails hushing under wheels. One by one, chimneys sigh, shutters clasp, porch swings slow. The city tucks itself beneath quilts of humidity and sweet dreams. Back in the kitchen, the gumbo pot issues a final burble. Content, complete. The candle stub pools wax, flame shrinking to blue whisper. Mama Odie's bubbles gather near the ceiling, merging into a single orb big as a kettle lid. It pulses twice, once for hope, once for hush. Then bursts silently, scattering a million motes of silver across tile, table, sleeping banjo. Each mote lands like feather snow, melts instantly, leaves behind nothing but soft night breeze. Tiana exhales, eyelids heavy. She drapes a dish towel over the gumbo, places tavern sign on the sill. Closed until sunrise, y'all come back now. Naveen locks balcony rail, then catches her hand. Together, they walk through the apartment, stepping over puddles of star glow melting into floorboards. They reach their small bedroom overlooking the river. Crickets serenade from window boxes. A ceiling fan murmurs, lullaby. Naveen pulls quilt to her shoulders. You made wishes come true tonight, chef. Tiana nestles against his chest. Tastes even better when shared. He presses a kiss to her forehead. And tomorrow? She mumble smiles. We stir again. Outside, the evening star brightens once more before sliding west. Across bayou thickets, Mama Odie reclines in her firefly-lit boat, chuckling as she dips finger into stardust jar, flicking one last sparkle toward the city. It drifts on breath of cypress and lands atop the palace roof, sprinkling rooftop garden with silver dew. Tomato vines sigh, basil leaves curl into dreams of morning gumbo. One spoonful of stardust is enough. New Orleans exhales, lids heavy, rhythm slowed to heartbeat, and sacks echo on distant water. In every alley, in every attic, in every crawfish hole and carriage barn, sleep settles like powdered sugar on beignets. Soft, sweet, inevitable. Tiana's breathing evens. Naveen's soon matches. The river flows. Steadfast narrator of night stories. Fireflies dim. Stars rotate clock slow, and gumbo flavors deepen even in quiet. Wishes, thoroughly stirred, rest at the bottom of the pot, ready for ladles of sunrise. On the edge of dream, under mosquito net canopies, the city listens to its own hush. And the hush answers, all is well, all is fed, all is loved. Another jazz dawn will come, but not yet. For now, the kitchen of wishes closes its eyes, and Louisiana drifts into peace. Moonlight pours over the palace like skimmed cream, flooding terrace steps and marble balustrades in a hush so pale it seems woven from sighs. Gardens stretch in cool symmetry, fountain pools shimmering silver, hedges trimmed like quiet sentinels, rose beds folded tight as sleeping hands. Somewhere beyond the east wing, a nightingale tries a few wistful notes, then falls silent, as if even birds must whisper in this hour. Cinderella lifts her skirts just enough to feel damp grass kiss her ankles. She walks barefoot, the night stillness curling around her shoulders like a shawl. Behind her, the palace windows glow with a soft butter gold, too faint to disturb the stars. Servants have long since banked the hearths. Guards pace corridors with muffled boots. Only one room remains truly awake, the small antechamber off the grand ballroom where a single glass slipper rests upon a velvet cushion. But that story is well known. Tonight, Cinderella carries the other slipper, its twin, cupped in both hands as if it were a fragile comet. Crystals catch stray beams, scattering flakes of light that leap across rose petals and ripple along fountain edges. Each shimmer is a memory, half hidden, half sky-bright. The carriage of pumpkin gold, the swirl of satin and hope, the clock's iron heart striking 12. Yet here, beneath stars that keep their own gentle time, no chimes threaten. There is only the patient hush of gardens and soft press of grass. At the foot of a flowering magnolia, a kitten tumbles from shadow. Smoky gray with moonlit stripes, it darts forward on paws still too big for its courage, then freezes when light splinters off the slipper. Cinderella kneels, setting the crystal heel beside her like a tiny frozen wave. "Curious, are we?" she whispers, extending fingers that smell faintly of lavender soap. The kitten sniffs, whiskers twitching, then presses into her palm, a rumble of purr starting like distant thunder and growing into warm applause. She settles cross-legged upon the lawn, slippers off, toes disappearing in cool blades. The kitten curls into a patch of gown pooling at her knee, paws kneading silk. With the slipper balanced on her lap, Cinderella begins to speak. Not loudly, not as one recites legend, but as someone telling secrets around a dying campfire. "This is not a glass shoe," she tells the kitten, voice lilting. "It is a promise that gleamed brighter than any chandelier." Her fingers trace the arch. "It began in a hearth-soot kitchen, smelled of cinders and yesterdays. I scrubbed floors until the tabby beside the ash bucket thought my tears were drops to chase." The kitten's ears flick. It gazes up with liquid eyes, as though recognizing kinship with that long-ago cat. Cinderella continues, of stepsisters demanding ribbons laced and gowns pressed, of a stepmother whose sighs were sharp as broken quills, and of nights when embers were her only company. "But hope," she murmurs, "sometimes nests inside an ember, waiting for just a breath." Her thumb warms the slipper. Moonlight swims inside it like milk swirling into tea. A breeze wanders through magnolia branches, carrying petals that drift across her lap. One settles upon the slipper's rim and stays, pale pink on moon-clear crystal. Cinderella smiles. "Papa once said magnolias bloom to remind the night it can be gentle too." She lifts the slipper so the kitten can sniff the petal. It bats softly, then curls tighter, purr subsiding to a sleepy engine. High above, clouds part. Starlight sharpens, painting pathways across the grass. Cinderella's gaze follows those glimmer roads until it lands upon an upstairs balcony. The ballroom's tall doors stand ajar, sheer curtains billowing like ghosts trimmed in lace. On air so thin it barely exists, a strain of music drifts, muted strings, a touch of piano, as if the memory of that first waltz still lingers, refusing to leave the hall it loved. She shuts her eyes. For a heartbeat, the scent of spun sugar and candle smoke returns. She feels the orchestra's vibration in her ribs, the prince's tentative hand finding her waist. But the vision softens, replaced by this quieter moment. Grass beneath her feet. Small breathing kitten. Slippers shining like the inside of a dewdrop. One story ended, another has only just begun. A yawn breaks free of her lips, light, bird small. She rests the slipper on the grass, folds arms around knees, and tilts head to stars. Their constellations stitch silent lullabies, thousands of pinprick flames spelling, "Well done, brave heart." She answers with a glance, "Thank you for watching." Somewhere near, a hint of silver sparks. Cinderella's lashes flutter. The kitten sits up, ears pricked. From the corner of garden path, firefly motes swirl, coalescing into a figure whose cloak glimmers like pond ripples under sunlight. A gentle pop, as a wand touches ground, and there stands the fairy godmother, face still round with delight, hair in soft nebula curls, spectacles perched precariously on the tip of her nose. Hmm, hmm. She adjusts her shawl and nods approvingly at the slipper. My dear, I see you're keeping that sparkle polished. Cinderella laughs under her breath. I was just telling its story. She gestures to the kitten, who arches back and scrambles behind her ankle, equal parts fear and fascination. The godmother's eyes twinkle. And what ending did you choose? No ending, Cinderella replies softly. Only beginnings. A warm silence blooms, scented faintly of sugar plums. The fairy godmother lowers herself onto a conjured cushion of violet silk. Good. Too many tales tie ribbons around hope and call it finished. She points wand at kitten. A saucer of cream appears beside it. The kitten ventures forward, lapping politely. Cinderella traces patterns in dew-pearled grass. I used to think this slipper was luck, that it changed everything. Oh, nonsense, the godmother says. Luck is a coin tossed, hope is a seed planted. Which of those do you suppose grows a kingdom? Hope, Cinderella answers. And which do you suppose grows you? Both, perhaps, she muses. But one nourishes the other. The godmother beams, as if Cinderella has passed an exam only fairies bother grading. With a gentle flick, she sends a sparkle skipping across the slipper. It lands, splits, and dissolves into glitter that settles upon Cinderella's hair like frost. Remember, the older woman says, voice soft as organza, that glass is beautiful because it lets light pass through. You are beautiful because hope passes through you. She taps Cinderella's heart. A warmth spreads from the touch. Neither magic nor spell, only reassurance that kindness still has power long after the last ball gown has been hung away. The godmother's image flickers, edges blurring into the hush she arrived on. Time for dreams, she whispers. Not the wishful kind, but the restful. She drifts backward, dissolving into fireflies that whirl up toward moth-white clouds. For a moment they spell a shape, perhaps a star, perhaps a slipper, then scatter among magnolia blossoms. Cinderella closes her eyes again. Music from the ballroom sighs once more, then subsides like sea wash retreating. She lifts the slipper, studies its curved arch. Inside, moonlight now holds a second glow, soft gold, as if a candle flickers deep in its heart. She imagines each guest at the ball, stable boy, pastry cook, court musician, resting safe behind shuttered rooms, full of their own small hopes. No story is only hers. Hope threads through every corridor, every broom closet, every star-pierced corner of the world. She sets the slipper on the grass. Beside it, she places a magnolia petal, then a pebble plucked from pathway. Ordinary, weighty, gray. Luck, she murmurs, touching the slipper. Choice, touching the pebble. Hope, touching the kitten's head. All part of the same dance. The kitten purrs agreement, eyelids drooping after delicious cream. Cinderella stands, brushing dew from gown hem. She lifts the kitten, tucks it against her collarbone. It melts into her neck with a sleepy sigh. With slipper balanced in crook of elbow, she walks back along moonlit gravel. Each step is silent blessing, on roses, on fountains, on hedges that will greet dawn with dew-gemmed leaves. She pauses at the ballroom's terrace doors. Through gauzy curtains, she glimpses marble floors still bearing faint scuff marks from that enchanted night. A broom leans nearby. She smiles, remembering old habits. But not tonight. Tonight, the dust may sleep. Inside the antechamber, she sets the twin slipper beside its mate. Crystals kiss. For a breath they glow, then settle, two halves of a circle unbroken. The kitten yawns, patting at the velvet cushion before curling into a curl as seamless as the moon's own arc. Cinderella strokes its fur and draws curtains closed. Musicians' stands rest in neat rows against wall. String bows lie like sleeping swans. Candles snuffed early leave only faint beeswax hush. She walks to her chamber, once a servant's attic nook, now bright with morning glory wallpaper and a window framing sunrise each dawn. She sheds gown for linen nightdress, slips beneath quilt that smells of lavender and sweet hay. In the corner, the glass slipper's glow fades to memory. Through her window, a star shoots, a quick white paint stroke. Cinderella's eyes follow it, heavy-lidded. She whispers, "Not luck, hope." And the night folds her words into itself, carrying them like seed across kingdoms still waking. Somewhere, a young baker dreams of opening a shop. A page boy dreams of learning violin. A housemaid dreams of studying maps. Hope passes through them, starlight through glass, leaving rooms brighter than wrongs can dim. Cinderella's breaths lengthen, deepen. Gardens hush their roses. Curtains billow a lullaby. And high above, magnolias shimmer beneath a patient moon, asking nothing more of the world than to keep blooming, night after night, hope after hope. Night gathers over Corona like violet silk rinsed in moonlight. Far beyond the palace rooftops, on a grassy ridge that once held a lonely tower, stands Rapunzel's new studio. Stone walls reborn beneath climbing roses, windows framed by teardrop vines. Candles flicker in every alcove, their tiny flames darting like eager ideas. Inside, the air hums with turpentine and lilac. Somewhere beneath it all, lingers the faint thrill of freedom newly woven into stone. Rapunzel sits at an easel near the broadest window, hair coiled in lazy spirals across her shoulders like spun sunset. The canvas before her is wide as a summer sky, white at its edges yet already blooming with dusk blue swirls. She lifts a brush tipped in midnight indigo and strokes. 1, 2, 3, spreading velvet across linen. The color deepens, gathering stardust speckles she taps with flecks of pearl. She hums a tune, soft, familiar, each note fluttering through the rafters to settle like firefly kisses on beams. At her feet, Pascal snoozes inside an empty paint jar, chin pillowed on curled tail. Each tiny snore sends a ripple through the jar's leftover lavender fumes, blending them into sleepy dreams of orchard moss. On the wide sill, Maximus stands sentinel, hooves planted, ears twitching whenever owls whisper secrets from distant pines. His breath clouds the glass, fogging it for a moment before clearing. Each exhale a silent promise that nothing unfriendly will disturb this hush-rich hour. Across the room, Flynn Rider, though the kingdom calls him Eugene, leans over a desk crafted from oak planks rescued when the tower first fell. A lantern pools amber over parchment. Quill in hand, he writes bedtime poems for anyone who might read his journal one day. Verses about lanterns that sail like wishes, about a girl who once wore the dawn in her hair, about how love sometimes sounds like chalky laughter scribbled across old stone walls. Every so often he glances toward Rapunzel, smile flickering like candlelight, then dips his pen for another line. Outside, the lake unfurls beneath castle bluffs, surface smooth as black satin. On its far shore, townsfolk gather, parents cradling yawning toddlers, apprentices wiping lantern wax from calloused palms, elders humming lullabies their parents sang under the same stars years ago. Tonight marks the annual Festival of Lights, reborn now less for mourning than for gratitude. Still remembering the lost princess, now celebrating the found queen of art and hope. Rapunzel breathes deep, scent of fresh paint mingling with honeysuckle wind. She sets her brush aside, stretches arms skyward, and tilts her head until vertebrae whisper relief. From a basket near her stool, she retrieves a paper lantern, thin white shell folded tight like sleeping petals. She traces its rim, thinking of the first time she saw the sky ablaze with floating wishes. Back then, she thought them stars come to Earth, Tonight, she aims to paint Earth back into the sky. With nimble fingers, she dips a small brush into gold and sweeps a spiral sun across the lantern's center. Sparks of pigment glimmer under candlelight. Pascal stirs, pops one eye half open, then sinks again into jar-cushioned dreams. Rapunzel turns to Maximus. Ready, noble guard? He flicks his tail, nods once, nose pressed to the glass, eyes scanning treetops. Satisfied, she glides to Flynn's desk. He meets her with a half-written line drying on parchment. Her voice repairs the night. He reads aloud, raising a brow. Too sentimental? Just right, she answers, leaning over to press a paint-smudged kiss onto his temple. Some indigo smears his hairline. He grins, content to wear the mark like a badge. Outside, a trumpet sounds, 3 mellow notes rolling over quiet hills. Flynn sets Quill aside. Rapunzel lifts her lantern. Maximus paws once at the sill, alerting unseen guards below. All clear. With gentle creak, the window unlatches. Evening spills in, cool, fragrant with cedar smoke from faraway hearths. Rapunzel steps onto the balcony. The wooden planks still bear carvings she made on afternoons of laughter. Swirls of vines, portraits of Pascal, a tiny profile of Flynn sketched mid-smirk. She sets the lantern on the ledge, lighting its wick with a taper flame. Inside, tiny fire flares, blooms, then steadies, casting gold slivers across her cheeks. Below, hundreds of lanterns lift from village hands, one by one, slender flames swallowing darkness, shells rising with collective gasp. They hover like newly hatched creatures, wings made of rice paper and hope. Then breeze gathers them, guiding upward. Soon the lake mirrors a sky of moving suns. Water ripples, dotting reflections into twinkling shards. From palace steps to fisher docks, voices blend into a soft sigh of awe. Some speak wish words, others simply watch, hearts beating in glow. Rapunzel holds her lantern aloft. Pascal, awakened by warm light, scrambles onto her shoulder, color shifting to soft amber. Flynn stands behind, palm resting at the small of her back. Together, they release. The lantern drifts from her fingertips with gentle tug, first uncertain, then sure, rising into the hush. As it climbs, gold spiral gleams, sun returning to sky. Pascal chirrups, Rapunzel smiles, eyes wet in candle sheen. She hums again, melody older than her time in the tower, one the wind seemed to teach her. The tune floats beyond balcony rail, weaving among lanterns. Words follow, almost whispered. Star-sewn lanterns, catch our song. Carry dreams the night feels long. Glow, glow gentle, sail so high paint with hope the hushed blue sky. Her voice is clear water on smooth stones. Somewhere on the lake, boat oars rest. Fishermen sit listening, hats in calloused hands. On palace ramparts, guards shift weight, faces softened. Even the forest becomes still, leaves pausing mid-rustle. Flynn pulls his journal, scribbles the verse before it flutters away. Maximus turns from his watch to tilt ears toward the voice. The horse's stern stature loosens, tail swishes like quiet applause. Lanterns ascend until the sky seems to inhale them, each a note in a glowing scale. Clouds part, making room. Stars appear brighter, as though pricked awake by Rapunzel's song. Then something subtle happens. Those distant lights tremble, shimmer. Not twinkle, but respond, flickering in pulses that echo the lantern's drag through air. Constellations shift just enough to wink. We hear you. Rapunzel's breath catches. She slows her melody, tests the night with one held note. Above, a cluster of stars brightens in unison, then dims, almost like a heartbeat signaling yes. She laughs softly, wonder radiating. Flynn's eyes widen. Are they answering? I think they might be. Her voice is hush soft, equal parts disbelief and trust. She lifts both hands skyward, fingers splayed as though catching dew. She sings a new line, wordless, rising high. The stars answer with faint shimmer pulses matching tempo. The lake mirrors, lantern lights rippling in harmony. Pascal squeaks, hugging her braid. Maximus snorts, mane bristling with awe. Somewhere overhead, a shooting star arcs, trailing silver thread that passes through 3 lanterns before vanishing behind distant mountain peaks. Rapunzel closes her eyes. The breeze wraps her hair around shoulders like shawl. She draws a long breath, letting gratitude fill lungs, ribs, heart. Slowly, she lowers arms, the final note cascading into quiet. Behind her, Flynn tucks pen behind ear, closes journal with sigh. "I'll need new phrases for that," he says, voice hoarse with awe. "Impossible," the old Flynn might have muttered once. But the kingdom's new storyteller knows wonder when he sees it. Rapunzel turns, taking his hand. Not impossible, just newly possible. They step inside, closing window to late-night chill. Maximus lingers one moment longer, nostrils flaring at faint breeze, then follows, tail swiping air like final brushstroke on dusk-blue canvas. Inside, candles have burned low, leaving orange halos on stacked canvases and trailing vines. Rapunzel sets Pascal in a nest of rags near paint pots. He curls instantly, tail draped over snout. She rinses brushes in a jar, listening to bristles swish. Flynn props journal on shelf, then unrolls a small carpet before her easel. A throne for the night's artist. He jokes, but his smile holds admiration too deep for jest alone. She sits cross-legged, he beside her, back against easel leg, their shoulders lean. Through window, they watch lantern-speckled sky drift slowly west, vanish behind hill ridges, leaving stars steady in their wake. "Do you think they'll remember?" Rapunzel asks, voice hushed. "The stars? The lanterns?" "Everyone," she clarifies, "the world." Flynn runs thumb along her knuckles. "Stories like yours stick. Each lantern was a listener tonight. They'll carry the song." She nods, satisfied. Then she yawns, quick, unbidden, charmingly human. Flynn chuckles. He rises, scoops her into arms. She protests halfway, "I can walk." But her laughter crumbles into sleepy giggle. He carries her across the studio to a loft bed draped with linens dyed from her own morning glory pigments. Maximus's hooves clop near steps. The horse settles on straw mat, eyelids already drooping. Rapunzel nestles beneath quilt stitched with suns and flowers. Flynn slips in beside her, journal tucked under pillow. The muraled ceiling above shows scenes she's painted across weeks. Waterfall gardens, castle vistas, sunlit markets. Tonight she imagines adding a new panel tomorrow. Stars answering song. Candle flames flicker. Gutters, dim. Only one remains. Lantern on desk, still burning low. Rapunzel lifts arm, palm glowing faint in its light. "Good night, lantern," she whispers. It flickers once, obliges, snuffing itself to curl smoke skyward. Now darkness settles, but not empty. It's filled with afterglow, echo of humming strings from village square, hush of lake against shore, distant crackle as final paper lantern kisses water then dims. Above studio roof, stars hold still again, but Rapunzel senses new warmth in their shine, as if each houses a gently burgeoning note of her melody. Flynn's breathing evens. Maximus snorts softly. Pascal's jar echoes tiny snores. Rapunzel closes eyes. In the hush she hears the faintest chime, maybe paint jar settling, maybe memory of bells far away, maybe the universe tapping measure for dreams. She hums once more, quiet, brief. Something beyond rafters glimmers. The universe answers, content. And so the tower that once kept her world small now hosts a night sky within its walls, painted on canvas, glowing in dreams. reflected in heart's learning. At last, that hope can be sung and sung back. Dusk slides over the valley like the slow closing of a painted fan. Sky and earth meet at the horizon in watercolor bands, lavender fading into peach, indigo washing the last streaks of sun. In the quiet beyond the city gates, a walled garden waits. Stone paths wound through moonlit magnolias, koi ponds still as mirrors, and bamboo groves whispering lullabies only the wind can read. No sentries pace, no banners snap. This night belongs to peace. Under the first tremble of lantern light, Mulan steps through the wooden moon gate. Her strides are unhurried. Each footfall touches gravel with a hush, as if the ground itself has asked for gentleness. Armor plates and crimson tassels once clanged at her every move, but today she wears only a silk robe the color of plum blossoms at dawn. A soft sash circles her waist, more ribbon than belt. Long hair, free of helmet's weight, flows down her back in an ink-dark curtain, stirring slightly whenever breeze passes. She pauses beside a stone basin, tracing fingers across its cool rim. Water inside reflects evening's first star. For a breath, she sees another version of herself. The soldier who crossed mountain passes in snow, eyes sharp with purpose, shoulders braced beneath heavy armor. The reflection ripples, becomes the woman she is now. Warrior heart inside a poet's stillness. She exhales. The basin settles, holding calm. Beyond the magnolia arch, a tiny red dragon dozes. Mushu, guardian in miniature, curls around a glowing ember rescued from the garden's incense brazier. His tail wraps like a silk ribbon. His chin rests on talons folded like prayer. Every few moments a snore escapes, a high whistle, comically grand for such a small creature. Each exhale stirs the ember, causing it to flare gold, then sink back to orange. Mushu sighs, murmuring something that sounds suspiciously like, "Yeah, I saved China, don't mention it," then smacks his lips and sinks deeper into dreams scented of victory banquets and honorary fireworks. Mulan smiles, kneeling beside him. She adjusts a pebble so the ember's heat won't scorch fresh grass. Mushu does not wake. Instead, he mutters, "More egg rolls, please," and flicks his tail, returning to sleep. A cricket perched atop the brazier, creaky, chirps a gentle trill, bathed in ember glow. Perhaps he is counting Mushu's snores, as if marking drumbeats in a parade only he can hear. Lanterns line the garden's winding paths, paper globes painted with swirling phoenixes, lotus blossoms, and stylized dragons. One by one they spark to life, ignited by unseen hands. Their light is soft, milky, diffused by the paper's rice fibers. But above each flame floats something subtler, wisps of pale gold smoke that weave upward, gathering beneath the open sky like ribbons released in celebration. The smoke lingers, and then, gently, it spreads outward into shapes both familiar and dreamlike. Mulan lifts her gaze. From the shifting clouds of lantern smoke, figures form, silhouettes of ancestors cloaked in flowing robes, hair pinned with jade combs and phoenix feathers, eyes bright with devotion. They do not speak. They bow. She bows in return, forehead dipping until it nearly touches her clasped hands. When she rises, the figures drift apart like mist over rice fields, leaving behind a hush layered with blessing. A low stone bench sits beneath the magnolia branches. Mulan eases onto it, feeling moss cushion the seat. Around her, crickets hum in playful syncopation, forming a chorus so delicate it might unravel if she breathed too hard. Sword racks once stood in this corner, polished spears, gleaming halberds. Tonight the racks are empty. Poles remain, but weapons rest elsewhere, sheathed and shelved, called upon only for ceremonies or tales told at the winter hearth. Across the pond, a bronze gong, silent guardian of drills and dawn alarms, reflects lantern light. Its surface, hammered by time, holds faint imprints of thousands of strikes. Now it offers no sound, but its bronze glimmer offers memory enough. The silence seems to hum with the ghosts of resonant morning calls that once echoed across campgrounds, forging courage from sleep. Mulan studies it briefly, bowing in respect, then lets her gaze drift back to the water lilies drifting on mirror-still water. She removes a small bundle from her sleeve, a strip of red cloth folded around something slender and gleaming. With tenderness usually reserved for infant sparrows, she unwraps the bundle. There lies her father's sword, polished and whole. Once cracked across its spine, forged anew by blacksmiths whose artistry could mend even history's fractures. The blade's edge catches lantern light, burning a faint line of silver, but she doesn't wield it. Instead, she runs a fingertip along characters carved upon it. Zhong, Yang, Zhen. Loyal, brave, true. Beside the bench stands a willow. Its branches sway like the sweeping sleeves of a sage. Mulan rises, digs a small patch of earth near its roots. She places the sword upright, blade downward, hilt protruding like a slender pillar. From a woven pouch, she scatters fragrant tea leaves over the soil, then pats earth closed. Willow limbs rustle, as if approving. The sword stands, but not as weapon. Now it is a marker, a reminder. Battles are finished. Loyalty, bravery, truth endure in quieter forms. Footsteps pad softly on gravel. Shang appears at the garden entrance, clad in simple linen tunic, countenance relaxed. He carries no spear, no command, only a clay teapot, steam curling from spout. Upon seeing Mulan's gaze, he inclines his head in silent greeting. She gestures to the bench. He pours 2 cups, fragrant with chrysanthemum and ginger. Steam swirls into night, merging with ancestor ribbons above. No words pass. They sip. Warmth spreads through limbs, grounding them deeper into now. In the distance, faint drums murmur, a festival rhythm from the village below, celebrating harvest under lantern moon. But here, drums fade beneath cricket choruses. Shang sets his cup aside, tipping chin toward Mushu. Let him sleep, Mulan whispers. Shang nods, smiling, rare, genuine. He returns to the path, leaving Mulan to dusk's cradle. She breathes in jasmine, breathes out lingering adrenaline. Months of skirmishes and negotiations still tug at her shoulders. She rolls them back, letting tension drip away like ink into river water. Robe sleeves trail along stone, gathering dew. She stands, stepping onto the grass barefoot. At pond's edge, she loosens sash ties, allowing the robe flutter open, revealing a plain cotton shift beneath. She steps out of robe, lays it neatly on a boulder. Beneath willow boughs, she spreads arms wide, palms lifted. Lantern light kisses her skin, highlighting faint scars, stories etched in flesh yet no longer throbbing. She bows to moon, to water, to earth. A flutter of wings overhead breaks the hush. From the mountain ridge, a great bird glides, a phoenix of legend, reborn after flame. Its plumage blazes gold red, yet its flight is hushed as falling petals. It circles once, showering sparks invisible to anyone but sleeping Mushu. Mulan feels warmth settle across her shoulders. The firebird, guardian spirit of her house, dips in salute before turning skyward, feathers dimming into starlight. Crickets pause mid-chirp, then resume in new key, higher, hopeful. She gathers the robe, wraps it over shift, no longer armor, but comfort. She approaches Mushu's ember bed. Kneeling, she strokes one small horn. He stirs but doesn't rouse, a smile curling tiny fangs. Kriki hops onto her knee. She plucks a petal from ground, offers it as pillow. The cricket nestles gratefully. Lantern smoke above threads into new shapes. Lotus blossoms opening, cranes in flight, gentle waves ebbing on jade shore. Messages from ancestors, none urgent, all kind. She closes eyes, letting images fall upon her mind's lake. For the first time in seasons, no tactical maps unfurl behind her eyelids. No watchfires burn behind ribs. Only magnolia petals drifting over sleeping koi. Wind carries pine resin and distant rice straw. She inhales, mind quiets, heart slows. She listens, the hush between crickets, the faint rustle of Mushu's snore, the soft pop of lanterns adjusting to night's cooling air. Swords are at rest, one in earth, others in racks sealed away. Battles remain in scrolls and stories. Tonight, only breathing matters. She settles onto bench again, folding legs beneath. She clasps hands, not in readiness but in gratitude. "Thank you," she whispers, speech soft enough not to wake dragon or cricket or willow. She thanks family, ancestors, spirits, the firebird, even the past battles that forged strength now cushioning rest. Gratitude floats upward, joining smoke forms. Clouds part. A river of stars spills across firmament, the Milky Way, path for dream travelers. Lantern glow mingles with starlight, dyeing sky gold and silver. Somewhere within those lights, bygone warriors cradle wooden cups of tea, nodding approval. Mulan's gaze softens, lids lowering. She curls sideways on bench, cheek against forearm. Creaky hops nearby. Mushu murmurs in sleep, ember reflecting entire galaxies in his scales. Lanterns dim with slow reverence, leaving only moon to keep watch. Willow branches sway, fanning cool air over dreamer's brow. And there, beneath ancestral grace and cosmic hush, Mulan lets armor, physical and otherwise, slip away completely. Dreams find her gently. Magnolia blossoms opening, a peach orchard in first light, laughter at family table, and a kingdom at peace where children learn sword plays for discipline, yet wield brushes for life. Breath by breath, calm deepens. Crickets steady to lullaby tempo. Ember fades to coal. Mushu snuggles closer, purring like distant thunder. Ancestors' smoke dissolves into night. Blessings remain in every dewdrop. Mulan sleeps, warrior heart eased. The firebird nested in quiet skies, watching. Night sweeps gently across the kingdoms, carrying a hush stitched together from ocean breath, forest sigh, and quiet castle stone. One by one, in places both distant and familiar, candles bloom like tiny moons, single flames keeping watch while the world sleeps. They flicker in rhythm with calm hearts, sending whispers through window panes and palm leaves, through spice-sweet kitchens and frost-kissed corridors. Belle sits curled in an armchair beneath the library's rose-rimmed window. Every shelf behind her slumbers beneath velvet dust covers, but one book lies open in her lap, pages aglow with candlelight. She turns them softly, lips shaping silent words. The flame at her elbow pools gold across the margins, illuminating dragons that will never reach her, quests that end in peace. Outside, the enchanted castle rests, teacups snoozing in cupboards, candelabra flames dimmed to dream blue embers. Yet here, beside this single candle, Belle's story unfurls in gentle beats, curiosity, compassion, courage. She reaches the chapter's final line, sighs contentedly, and closes the cover with a hush. The candle bows, its flame nodding as if to say, "Well read." Belle answers by leaning back, eyes drifting to the window where dawn still hides behind purple clouds. Thousands of miles away, Moana swings in her hammock between leaning palms. A single candle, jagged from many nights' use, rests in a coconut shell set deep in sand. Its flame quivers in the trade wind, yet never fails. Moana watches waves shimmer silver as they carry lullabies onto the shore. She hums back, voice low, while stars trace the paths her ancestors once sailed. The candle's glow gilds the curve of her face, turning her thoughts toward Tefiti's green pulse and journeys yet to come. When the tide reaches her toes, she whispers a simple mahalo, thank you, to sea and sky, and the candle flame steadies, reflecting twin stars in its molten core. In New Orleans, the city lights have long since tipped into slumber, but Tiana's kitchen keeps a single vigil. A beeswax candle stands in a china saucer beside the cooling stove. Its honeyed scent mingles with the last trace of gumbo, drifting upward through rafters like a sweet benediction. Tiana wipes down the counter one final time, hangs her apron, and returns to the flame. She cups it briefly, eyes half closed, perhaps offering a recipe of gratitude. 1 spoon of perseverance, 2 of love, a pinch of laughter. The flame brightens, reflecting in copper pots that hang like sleeping brass moons. Outside, jazz dreams drift through midnight streets, but here within these walls, all rhythms have slowed to the candle's steady beat. Tiana exhales, and the light dances, delighted to share its warm secret. High in a palace tower, Cinderella steps onto her balcony. Moonlight drapes the gardens below, turning fountains to liquid pearl. She cradles a slender taper, its holder carved from crystal, twin to her famous slipper. The candle's reflection refracts down the glass, scattering star specks across her nightgown. She rests the taper on the stone balustrade and folds her arms atop it, chin resting on clasped fingers. Somewhere behind her, the kingdom slumbers. Even the grand staircase holds its breath. Yet the candle's glow offers gentle company, fending off the vast hush of marble halls. Cinderella smiles, remembering pumpkin wheels spinning toward possibility. Tonight, possibility arrives quietly, carried in the waxy tear sliding down the taper's stem to cool against crystal. She watches it harden, a tiny glass slipper of its own, then closes her eyes and listens to nothing but stillness. Beneath waves that mirror the sky, Ariel floats just beneath the surface. In the curve of seashell-smooth seabed rests a pearly candle encased in a bubble of air coaxed from traveling dolphins. Its flame glimmers coral bright, refusing to drown. Ariel circles it, fins brushing sand into spiral patterns. Above her, moonlight seeps through water, fracturing into ribbons that flick across her hair like wandering constellations. She hums a lullaby learned from distant shore, soft, yearning, satisfied. The candle's glow dances across her face, painting human hopes onto mermaid dreams. She presses a kiss to the bubble's surface. It ripples, but holds. Far above, a lone gull glides, carrying her silent song into starry emptiness. Northward, in a palace carved of ice and quiet, Elsa walks dark halls barefoot, frost whispering beneath her steps. A single candle, slender and white, rests upon a mirrored pedestal at corridor's end. Its flame is small, but Elsa's magic bows to it, letting heat reign for once. She reaches out, fingertip tracing the secrecy of firelight. Crystals on the walls catch the glow, breaking it into shards that sparkle like dawn-bound snow. Elsa smiles, drawing gentle arcs in the air. Frost grows in swirling vines around the pedestal, never touching flame. From the other end of the corridor, Anna's soft snore echoes. Warm reminder that love, like fire, burns bright against ice. Elsa leans forward and whispers to the candle, "Stay." The flame answers with a steady shiver, reflection multiplying 1,000-fold in icy walls, making one small promise look like constellations. Stars wheel onward. Night deepens, unrolling a stage of velvet for these scattered lights. Across fields and oceans, forests and spires, each candle shares its humble glow, part of a hush-slow symphony. Belle's candle pools patience among shelves. Moana's candle rocks with the waves. Tiana's candle seasons darkness with warmth. Cinderella's candle drapes hope over quiet stone. Ariel's candle mingles land and sea in one trembling droplet. Elsa's candle burns with fearless calm inside a palace of winter. Somewhere beyond sight, perhaps in valleys guarded by brave warriors, on balconies where adventurous hearts paint the sky, or in workshops that craft stardust into lanterns, other candles flicker for heroines still awake. Each wick is a storyteller, each flame a heartbeat, each pool of wax a soft reminder that courage rests too. As midnight slides into deeper hush, breeze carries a whisper from candle to candle, kingdom to kingdom, ear to dreaming ear. You are safe. You are home. You are loved. The words drift like thistledown across rooftops and reefs, through mulberry branches and jasmine blooms, lingering on lips of those half asleep. Belle smiles against her closed book. Moana's chest rises in time with tide. Tiana's shoulders drop. Cinderella's gaze softens further. Ariel's hums slow to stillness. Elsa's breath clouds the air, then settles crystal quiet. One by one, flames gutter, never extinguished by wind, but eased into slumber as if nighttime itself pinches wick between gentle fingers. Wax cools, hardening into memory. The last candle, perhaps Belle's, perhaps Ariel's, stays aglow a moment longer, guarding the weave of final dreams. Then it, too, bows its flame, sending up a tiny ribbon of smoke that curls into a question mark before fading. Silence deepens, layered and kind. Above every kingdom, stars hold steady watch, their distant fires revived by borrowed candlelight. Oceans slip into rhythmic breathing. Forest leaves rest motionless. Castles dream of open doors and gentle mornings. Towers remember songs, not cages. Kitchens cradle cooled pots and rising dough. Palaces of ice gleam beneath aurora veils. No hoofbeats, no trumpets, no ticking clocks. Only the shared sigh of worlds asleep, each heart shining in darkness like a candle bank turned inward. And in that universal hush, the lantern song of Chapter 8 harmonizes with gumbo lullabies, Voyager hums, glass slipper secrets, frost-drawn lace. All melodies fold into one slow chord, soft, whole, unending. There, at the threshold between night and dawn, our story sets its final candle in the windowsill of your listening heart. Its wick glows one last time, then dims. Not gone, only waiting. Should you wake in shadowed hours, reach inward and feel the quiet ember it left, humming the words once more. You are safe. You are home. You are loved. The ember will answer, pulsing like starlight behind closed eyes, guiding you back to warmth. Until then, let silence cradle you. Let dreams gently tiptoe where candles once glowed. Let morning arrive whenever it wishes, unhurried as the turning page of Belle's next book, rippling as Moana's reef, golden as Tiana's sunrise beignets, bright as Cinderella's dawn-lit balcony, shimmering as Ariel's sea spray pearls, fresh as Elsa's first flake of day. And so the night ends, not with a curtain's fall, but with quiet breath, with stillness thick enough to bloom. The candles have rested, the princesses sleep, and you, dear listener, drift with them, hand in candle-warm hand, into the gentle, endless hush.